Welcome to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Chasing Your Experience podcast. I'm your host, Sean Smith, and wow, I cannot believe that we are already on Season 3 of the podcast. So to get things started off after the start of the new year, I've got a good guest on. I came across him, and we've kind of built a quick friendship on the TikTok, even though I was very, very, very adamant I wasn't joining TikTok because of how anti-hunting they tend to be. But here I am on TikTok, and it's been growing. I can't complain. But I met this gentleman on the TikTok, and he's been gracious enough to come join us because he's got quite the account about his mobile hunting adventures. And so I've got the man behind Mobile Hunting Nation 2.0 on TikTok. It's Thomas. Alex, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I am living the dream down here in Ohio. How about you,
Same,
my
man?
man?
Same.
So you're a Michigander, all the way up from the great state up north, as most of the Ohioans down here like to call it because of our silly little rivalry in college football. But how are things up there right now?
It's snow. We got quite a bit of snow. Like I said in one of my videos, it was all the way up to my knees in some areas. So yeah, snow.
Yeah, I've been watching your account, and it's like, man, that's an awful lot of snow. It's like, I don't know if I'm ready for that type of snow. We get snow here and there. We're not that far south of you, but we do get a little bit of snow here and there, and sometimes we get it maybe a foot of snow. We might see that, which you guys, that's where you guys start measuring at, is in the feet. We're more inches down here. So it's definitely a different dynamic up there in the great north. So anyways, man, I know you're big into hunting stuff. Are you big into college football at all?
I unfortunately I am not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. You're probably better off for it, because I was gonna try to bait you into some Michigan Ohio State banner, but never mind.
Oh, I see.
I'm actually a Michigan fan myself, so I'm like, I was not pleased this past, a couple weekends ago, but after Indiana beat Ohio State, I'm like, yay, that's what you get. But
I get
anyways, that's all right. Well, Alex, you're new to the podcast, man, and I don't want to take up a lot of the time on the intro here. So I want to kind of give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, how you got into the outdoors. Like, just kind of give us a general idea. And like I said, feel free to take up all the time you want, man. So let us into the life and the whys of Alex Thomas.
All right. It actually started in the early '90s. I got taken out with my mother actually married a guy, and he took me out hunting for the first time, and we had a lot of deer on public land back in the '90s, and we must have seen probably 40 deer, I want to say. This was further north, and they just kept coming through and coming through, and we had one come right up to us, and he took a deer, and then we left that day, and then we went back, and he took this big buck, and I've been hooked since. And then it was my grandpa and my uncles, and everybody's, present me with this opportunity to go on all these public lands. Well, eventually, this was still in the '90s. They were taking me out on scouting trips, and I would go and scout around and listen to what they had to say. And I thought I was one of the guys, so thinking, wow, man, I get to hang out with the big guys, and go look at for big deer. And it just seemed like it took off from there. Back then it was um, a lot of easier opportunities to take bigger deer. It seemed like than it is now. But every year they would pull big deer, big does, big bucks. I mean, and swamps were the main thing. You know, we would always hit the swamps, always hit the beddings. So I've been stuck on that ever since, the swamps and beddings, and it's like, and it seems to be working pretty good. You know what I mean? But throughout time, we've always been mobile. Uh, Ground blinds were a thing. It wasn't so much of the hang-ons at first. With my uncles and all the people that showed me everything, we would use the ground blind, but they would still pull back these old bows, you know, and still manage to harvest them. Well, my ground game sucks. I've tried it many times. I always get busted. So everybody's using the hang-ons and stuff like that. And I use hang-ons, and then I use Vipers, you know, 20, 25 years back, the Viper climbers, and but modern technology is gone. It's shot through the roof. So the more mobile I figured out that I am, the more opportunities I have at bigger deer. You know what I mean? Bigger does, bigger bucks. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we get too far in this mobile conversation, because it is the direction we're going to go, I want to cycle back on a couple of things you talked about, and obviously, and I guess some of this might be speculation on your part, and like that's the part of that's what a podcast is about is a discussion. And you mentioned something about back in the day, or everyone has this state. Everyone says this, like, "Oh, I remember back in my day," or "I remember this." We used to have all these big deer. We used to have this. We used to have that. And I'm not saying that in a negative light. This I'm curious to know what your observations, your experience have led you to believe that today there's less than they were back then. Does that question make sense?
I understand what you're saying. It's because like I travel, I go all over Michigan to hunt. I
Mhm.
do. I'm chasing big deer. You know what I mean? I'm not saying just particularly big bucks. I'm saying big deer in groups of them. But it seemed like you had more of a abundance on public lands. See, the hunters back then, I'm just saying back then, they were quite a bit for rifle season, but during bow season it was barely even heard of. You probably see one hunter out of 1,000 acres of land. Well, now they're getting rid of a bunch of land in Michigan. They have been for the past 30 years. And it seems like the less land you have going more north, the more the hunters seem like they're going more north where all the land is, all the public land. So, and then that pushes deer out, you know.
So Michigan's been is this a state thing, or is this a federal thing where they've been selling off the public land?
Well, I don't know which side it is. I just think they're just keep taking and taking and taking and not giving and giving and giving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that was a big thing going on out west here recently. Was Mike Lee from Utah had presented, and a part of the big beautiful bill, whatever they want to call it, uh, wanting to sell off millions of acres out in the west, and luckily there's enough hunters came together and started bothering their senators and stuff to where that got scrapped from the bill, and so it's not new to hear of a state or even the federal government wanting to sell off their public lands because they think they're going to make some type of revenue on it. And there's a little bit of history behind some of this public lands, why some states ended up with so much. Oregon's a good example. And I know this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I'll just discuss this for a minute. Oregon was one that, hey, the federal government gave you all this federal land and all this public land for you to be able to use that as a resource to fund your public schools through timbering, right? Well, apparently that wasn't enough for them, so they sold it off, and now it's that quick hit, like, oh, we got all this money right now, but then it goes, and you have nothing renewable to it. And I think that's what some of these states need to start looking at. Like, yeah, it's a quick hitter, but it's a temporary fix to a long term problem. There's probably other solutions you need to look at before you start selling off or getting rid of public land. Um, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I hate to see when stuff like that happens. Ohio has started to actually start to partner with private landowners and paying them a a small nominal fee for rent to allow hunter access, walk on access. So that's something Ohio has started to do to try to combat that. And honestly, I don't know if it's ever, I don't know if there will ever be enough to really make a big, big difference. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing of it is, I see it this way. We got a lot of abandoned homes, okay, out throughout Michigan. And these guys want to keep taking lands and buying lands off these farmers and buying this land. And they build all these big housing developments, huge housing developments. And when we have houses that are still available where they can just fix it up instead of keep taking land. Because I used to hunt next to this little Muskegon, just for an example. And it used to be quite a bit. It was right on the river. And it was beautiful land. I mean, this was probably 15, 20 years ago, let's say, give or take. And I used to be able to get deer out of there all the time. Well, there was like two or three houses in the back of that property. Well, it seems like it just kept getting bigger with more people and they kept taking the land. Well, this is before the mapping and all that stuff, the Onyx maps and all that. And by the time you know it, there's only a little chunk. I want to say about 30 acres left of that land and all of its houses around this river. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to keep building these homes. You can restore homes. You know what I mean?
That's exactly one of the points that I believe. So I'm right in the same boat as you I think you and I are on the same wavelength. Like we're firing on the same cylinders with that. Cause that's, I don't get that. Like, yeah, let's take up more land because we want to make affordable housing, but you got all these houses that are sitting vacant in areas that if you put a little time and effort into, you could improve that and help with the housing market. Like it's no,
It's a tough one.
no, there's a deeper thing behind that than just that and whatever. And unfortunately, you and I, we're not going to solve all the world's problems in this discussion, but my
It's
God,
horrible.
we're going to let them know about them. Um, so sounds like you had some really good mentors coming up in your early childhood, right? Um, so I I kind of follow the same footsteps as you when it came to mentorship. Like, mom was a single parent, and she's been a single parent her entire life, like, and that's her choice. But so I kind of had to find outside sources that kind of, there was a few families in the area that their kids grew up on the same street as I did. They hunted. They were kind enough to let me kind of go out and join with them and kind of gave me the bug. So it's really important that mentorship and stuff that that you got and or that we get that kind of brings us into this um passion, this sport, this pursuit of ours. So kudos to that guy taking time out of his day to kind of take you out and introduce you to this stuff, man. Because look at the fire he ignited, man. Look, small spark, small ember, and now look at the fire that has become. The work, the effort you've done to create not only what you do for your own passion, but then starting to share that on the social medias and stuff, right? So let's shift gears a little bit here. So we got a little bit of introduction on you. So let's start talking about the mobile hunting game for a minute, right? And I want to talk why. I want to start with why. Why you and I mobile hunt like I'm not. This is I'm digging into you to see. I'm curious about your thoughts on this. Why you chose mobile hunting?
Okay. Like I said, it started with the Viper, and those things are big and clunky. And I've spooked a lot of deer with the big old clunky Viper. And using the hang-ons. Well, I missed a lot of opportunities that I've seen with deer or spooking deer or over hunting a area. You know, I've been it multiple times now. Being mobile is a thing that if you see a bunch of deer going down this one trail and you're sitting by the trail, but you're not close enough to be able to take a shot, and then you see where they're going. Well, now I'm not close enough to this trail. I can move in another 50 yards and I can get in on these deer. So that's where it all started actually. And then the guy who I was a friend with, he was like, "Hey man, why don't you get the stick set up and get a hang on?" Well, they haven't really come out with quite like hang-ons yet, but they had sticks. So I got cheap sticks and I got hang-ons and then I went from there to XOP, and then they had the X2 sticks, and I was like, "Oh man, these things are light, compared to what I was lugging around, But I was trying to keep silent. And being mobile, yes, I'm not going to sit in one spot. I will. I know every time I step in the woods, I am leaving a scent. No matter how much scent control you have or whatever you want to say, you're going to leave something. And so I'm not going to sit in a 15-acre path for 2, 3 times, you're gonna burn out that area. You are. These deer will know. The older, smarter deer will know that area because you just left a bunch of scent in there because you were in there 3 times. Well, so I will move farther down and check out another area, or I'll go to another public land, and I I do all my scouting, pre-scout everything. So now I have 1 stick. So going from doing my 4 sticks to 1 stick in a regular platform to just 1 stick with a platform on it, the solo stick. And I seem to be taking control of little situations. Like I can get to a small tree, I don't have to necessarily find a bald tree now, or I can pretty much hide myself anywhere I want.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit.
Yeah. So you made a key statement, and we're going to start diving into the equipment part of it here after this. But how many times have you noticed? And I don't. Does Michigan allow you to, as a hunter on public land, do they allow you to come in and do like a preset hang, allow it to hang throughout the season? You have to tear down, or
I
so.
think it's yes. Sorry.
No, that's right. How many? No, you're fine. You're fine. Absolutely. How many times do you come across these, right? But you don't see any deer activity around them. Like there's no recent deer activity. There's no nothing because, like you said, if we keep coming back to these same spots, and I see this on private land too. I mostly hunt private land. That's why I was kind of curious. That's my big draw to you and what you do is all the public land hunting that you do because it is a totally different dynamic than what I do. But there are some we there are some correlations or some things that kind of tie each other because deer are deer are deer. The difference is how much pressure these deer kind of get between these two areas, right? So, like I said, I mostly hunt private land, but I've also noticed that there's a few spots on this land where we usually have a stand. Like, the landowner that allows me to hunt there, he hunts as well, but he's got some like preset stands just that are there. And it's funny the amount of deer that know that that stand is there and how activity at that stand will eventually die off. And then I hear them complain all the time, man, I didn't really see anything. I didn't really see much deer today. And then I go out with the saddle and mobile stuff, and I might sit the same tree a couple times, but I'm usually bouncing back and forth between different locations, based on what my observations are. And like I see deer almost every day. Every time I go out, I see deer. I can't say I'm seeing big deer all the time, but I'm seeing deer, like, or at least I have an idea. And that goes to show, like, one of the advantages of the mobile side of it, like you said, is that we're not burning out a spot, right? And, I don't think people really notice on how easy it is to burn that spot out. Like, I've been there before. We've all been there. Like, you've probably been in that situation too. You've hung a stand. I've hung a stand. I absolutely am going to sit in the stand and I will sit there all day, every day, and not see a thing and wonder why why am I not seeing anything, right? So let's talk another point though, and that's the adaptability behind mobile hunting because you said a key thing here. And let's talk about this. How many times have you actually been in the woods, right? You're in a spot, you're like, this is a great spot. And all of a sudden you see all the deer moving over, they might be 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 yards from where you're at, right? Technically, it's not that big of a move, but 100 yards. How many times did it take watching those deer to realize that you needed to move? One time.
One time. That's it. I tell I tell myself every time when I go out into the woods, like if okay, let's say I sit it one day and you think you're on a good spot and but you're seeing all your deer over there. Now, I'm not gonna hunt it the next day. I won't. I'll give that land a rest, a good week rest on that whole entire area because it's usually um let's say a 300-yard stretch in that area where I'll just give it a rest if I see the deer in another spot. So I'll give it a week rest and I'll come back. Well, they weren't in that spot, but they were right over there. I'm gonna go over there. And usually it pans out. It does. It usually always does. It's because there's obviously a reason why they're over there and not in that spot where you scouted before. It's because deer movement changes. You know what I mean? Throughout the seasons. So there's probably a tree over there that they like that they're eating off of, or there's a good passage what they liked over there, or there's always something.
And Lord knows it might have been in our case, we've had a few trees get blown over here in the last several years that's blocked off a couple of their trails, which has changed their movement. And, who knows? There's probably some dead tree laying across the trail they normally use, and they like, "Oh, we're gonna use this one now." So, deer are lazy. They're like us. They're lazy. They're gonna take the path of least resistance when they can. Obviously, in an emergency, they'll go whatever the most direct route is. They don't care if they got a bull through something or not. In an emergency, they'll go just like us. But generally speaking, with we don't if there's nothing that is urgent, we'll take the easiest route we can find.
Most definitely. Yes.
But, well, I've also so I agree with you. I've done the same thing where I've seen deer movement. Like and there's been times I've been so hard headed in my early years where like I am absolutely going to sit here and I'll tell this real quick. So we had one stand set up and we had pictures of a buck that was coming through this area. We had, early morning daylight almost every morning. We knew he was coming through there, right? So I went out there, hunted that opening day. That buck never came in there, but I did see him. He walked a different trail, different path, right? I'm watching that and I'm like, I probably need to move, right? That's the first time I ever in my mind I said, yeah, I probably need to move. And we end up doing a hang. We went in that next day, well, actually the same day, that evening or that lunch period, went in, hung another stand. I let it rest for 1 or 2 days because I had to go back to work. And I came back out a day or two later, hunt that morning. Sure enough, I got an opportunity at that deer, and I would not have had that if I would not have moved. So, guys and gals listening, like the biggest thing for you to be is adaptable, and that's where mobile hunting really has its advantages is the adaptability. So, and it's just for that reason because it allows me to be where I need to be, not where I think I need to be, but where I actually need to be. And there's a big difference between those
You
two.
said something about that where I need to be. See, a good man said that. Fred Bear. He says, "Go where the deer are, not where you want them to be." He said that. That's a good quote, and yeah, you're exactly right. And then he's right. He's right. You got to be where the deer are, not where you want
Mhm.
them. Yep. So being mobile is like a big thing. You know what I mean?
It is. It is, and don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that do a lot of work if they have the private land to do it. Obviously, public land is a little harder to do, if near impossible. But private land, they go through, they particularly manicure areas, they set areas up to kind of entice or to force deer into a movement pattern and stuff like that. I get that, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about your average person, your average hunter who is either has permission to be on land that they can't do a lot of stuff to, they're leasing it with limited restrictions, or they're out there grinding on public land like you are, right? So they need to make those opportunities happen. And I can't tell you how many times I've been to a spot like, oh man, deer should be here. Like, this looks amazing. Deer should be here. They're not. They're not. I've sat there, watched. They're not here. They're not here at all. And then I go to a spot where I think there's no way there's a deer in this place. No way. There's no simple way. I go in there and I got deer all around me. I'm like, how is this? Why?
Yep. I've been there before.
Well, let's dive down. Let's start getting into. We talked a little bit about the mobile hunting and why mobile hunting is the way you went with this. And so let's talk about your journey through your equipment that you use, like where you start, because you say you start with these big Vipers, the big, you're talking about the Summit
Climbers.
Viper climb on the climbers, the two-piece climbers. And you were 100% right when you said you had to find basically a telephone pole of a tree to climb with that. You come up to a limb, you're not getting, there's no safe way to get around it with a climber. So you started with those. They're loud, they're clunky, and then you got into starting to get into more of the mobile stuff. So did you go straight to saddle hunting, or did you try another system where it was like a hang on with sticks?
It was sticks with a hang on, with a light hang on. Yep, I did that next. It wasn't light. The first hang on was just a regular old hang on, big old metal clunky thing. But um, I liked it. But I mean, I was strong enough to hold it on my lap while I strapped it in real quick. I mean, I loved it, but it's too heavy. And then I'm looking further into it, and I got told about, more of a lighter setup because they have I mean, the XOP that I have, the Cold World I think it was only 7 pounds of a hang on. And I'm like, "Man, you know, I can really lift that up with one hand and strap it in with another one." And then the X2 sticks, I heard that they're great, so I just bought the combo, and I never turned back from that, man, and I was just like, "Wow, this is amazing compared to what everybody's used to." I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Viper. I mean, there is not at all, not at all with any kind of climber. No, you're still mobile, you know what I mean? And that's a big thing. 4 sticks, saddle on, 1 stick, 2 stick. I mean, if you're mobile, that's and then I went from that to a 1 stick with the, platform, and, I like that, I had the Hunter Arsenal, a platform, the Mag 2.0. I had that last year, I do believe, and, that thing is sweet. It was a big platform, loved it with saddle. I tried the saddle and I was scared with the saddles because you're dangling from a rope. That's what everybody thinks of. But you gotta think about this though too, is like all these lumberjacks, all these rock climbers, all these people are dangling from a rope, and you barely ever hear anybody dying from it. So you have to have the right equipment. So you have to have a good saddle, you have to have good 9 millimeter rope, you have to have that's what I use anyways, that's my preference. Um, and then I use the Men of Rock Safeguard for rappel. So I got into 1 stick with a platform on it that only weighs probably 5 pounds, and all I need. And I don't like you need a stick and a bow in your saddle, and that's all, you know what I mean? And I'm all about that because being public land hunter, I don't have to go out there very much, you know?
Right.
So
And I'm sure your public lands are the same as ours. Like I know here in Ohio, like you can't use anything that's going technically you can't use anything that's going to cause damage to the tree. We can't technically, I don't think we're allowed to prune trees, so you can't go up there and cut limbs out of it. You can't use anything screw in. So I've went with the whole like I use the tether his strap. I use that with their bow hanger. Dude, I'm telling you what, man, like I like that system so much. I even made a couple of my own. Like they have a video that tells you how to make them. That's what I like about Tether is like yeah, we sell this, but here, this is how you can make it if you want. So they show you how they made it, or at least you can make your own version of it. And I did. I've got a couple of them here at the house that I made. And man, just the ease of use of that. And I've got stuff hanging everywhere. My favorite things right now is that his strap, carabiners, and paracord. Because I
yes.
I got things hanging everywhere off that thing. There's a loop. I got a loop that I put my rangefinder on. Here's a hack for you. You can find those if you get on like marsupial gear and stuff. They have like these bungee rangefinder tethers and stuff like that. But they're expensive, like $20. Look on Walmart.com, Ozark Trail. They've got like a bungee carabiner, like springy. I forget what exactly they call it, what it's actually for like $2. I bought
Really?
two. Yeah, I've got 2 of those. I've got one sitting at the house. I haven't even broke the other one yet. Like it's on like year 3. That's why I used to hang my rangefinder to my his strap. so it's got a little bit of give, so I can pull on it, use it, and then put it and just let it dangle.
That's good thinking. Not good. That's
Oh,
cool.
we're probably going to be sharing a bunch of tips back and forth with each other here, but yeah, that was like I did a lot of searching because like man, I did not want to spend $20 on a freaking tether for a rangefinder. And then I found that on, like I said, on Walmart.com. It was our trail, and I don't remember exactly what it was called. Um, when you look, but all it is just it's a almost like a springy keychain thing, and it works fantastic. I got another one, like I said, just sitting here because I've not even broke the one that I've got, and for like $2, it's amazing. Love it.
Well, that's
So,
the thing too. It's like when you're in there, you want to make an office on your tree. You
mhm,
know what I mean? So you have everything available, so you're not digging around, making a bunch of movements. You
mhm.
want everything you call your now that strap thing would be actually really that stretchy thing, that would be actually really nice to have something like that because, we won't be making much movement. You're not doing too much, you know?
Yeah, because the idea behind it for me was that, I can let it just sit there, but it's not gonna, like, dangle clear down to the freaking ground. It'll actually retract a little bit, to where I can just grab it, get it up, pull it where I need to, get my range, and then or do whatever my pre-range, whatever it is, and then just kinda let it go and let it hang there so it's there. And like you said, it's my little mobile office right in front of me. I've got bow, I've got my deer call if I have it out with me. I've got my black rack, from whatever illusion, whoever they are. Right? I got them. I got that, and then I've got my rangefinder right there, and it's just all there. So it's just, and then
No,
my
that's awesome.
so you mentioned that you got into the one stick, right? So what led you to that? Why did you switch over to the one stick? 'Cause I do the same thing, and I had my own personal reason why I did it. So, but I'm curious why you decided the one stick over like multiple sticks.
Um, it's less. In some of my situations that I've noticed is less is more is because when I am getting into a tiny tree or I'm only gonna get 10 feet up in the air. So why am I gonna carry all four of my sticks with me or three sticks? I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what tree I'm gonna get into because I'll be like, oh man, I know I scouted that spot before, but I don't remember what tree it was. You can be looking on the map and finding your dot, and you're like, "Well, this tree is only 15 foot up there, and I'm only gonna and all my cover is only 7 foot," So I'm only gonna go but it's just one stick, and that's all I don't run and gunning. Isn't that what you call it, running and gunning? Yes. So,
It's
I
what they
mean,
say, right?
one stick, one bow. See you later, you know? That's all you need.
So it wasn't necessarily the weight that was the issue for me. What I got tired of doing because I use an aider with my sticks, and I used it there too. Was and going up is easy, but when you come down at night, and you're trying to find that aider without it kicking out or sliding. That's where I eventually it just took me way too long to come down multiple set of steps. I understand the price of people that this is they can probably do it as quick as I can rappel down a tree, whatever, right? I'm okay with that. But for me personally, I just got tired of trying to come down multiple steps. And it wasn't to the point where it was like a phobia or some unrealistic fear, but it got to the point where I'm like, I got uncomfortable with it. I'm like, I don't like doing this anymore. And then I got into the one sticking, and the first time I rappelled down a tree, I'm like, "This is it," because you can be down really quick.
Yeah.
The only frustrating thing, and for some reason it's been more this year than any other year, is trying to get my rappel rope out of the freaking tree. It's been getting hung up a couple times here, and I'm like, I'm just sitting there and I'm pulling on my on the other rope, it's a Dyneema rope. I use it as my actual pull-up rope for my bow and stuff, and I attach it to the other side of my quick link. And so when I go to pull on it, technically it should loose, and most of the time it falls down the tree. No problem. Here recently though, I don't know what it is. It's been getting hung up. So I've got to sit there and work with it a little bit and maybe cuss a couple times, and eventually it comes down. But that's been my only complaint with bump sticking at all, and it's still not enough to make me wanna go back to anything else, so
G3D, they're actually based right here out of Michigan. They have a handle. or you could put your pull down rope, it wraps right around it. And
Okay.
that's what I use. I'll attach it to my quick link. It'll just be that little clamp. I'll attach that to the knot behind my quick link,
Hmm.
and I'll use their little thing what they have, and you can yank it, but I'll step back though. You know what I mean? So it gives yourself
Hmm.
some leverage so you're not so close to the tree. And then
Hmm.
I'll also shake the other one if just in case it gets tangled up, and I'll shake them both at the same time. I know I'm blowing out the spot, but I need my rope back.
I need that rope. That's important.
Exactly, you know? So, yes, you're so right with the one stick. I come down, I grab my one stick, attach it right to my saddle,
Hmm.
and then I'll pull it down, and then I'll just and I'm out of the woods, like, just like you, I'm off the tree, I have nothing up there, and it only takes me, what, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, to have everything packed up and ready out of there, you know?
Yeah, if I'm in a rush, I got to the point now. I just take my time these days. Like, yeah, whatever. I get out of here when I get out of here, right? But if I'm in a rush, yeah, I can. You could be down out of the tree as long as your rappel rope cooperates with you. You can be out of the tree pretty quick, right? And on your way. Um, so you use the actual kind of like what when somebody says one stick. I think if they know what you're talking about, they probably do see the stick platform on it, right? Um, I use kind of more of a hybrid where I have just a one. It's actually a tethered one stick. I got one of theirs, and then I use a separate platform, which is like the Latitude X Wing. And then the reason I went that way is I done the one stick with the platform. I didn't have any issues with it, but I like the idea of that extra platform because then I can adjust it to where I want it to be without while I'm still standing on that stick, so I can move exactly where I want to be versus trying to fix that stick where I want to be. That's reason number one, or reason number one. Reason number two was because it had a slide in it to where I can run a strap through it for my ring of steps. Like that has been the biggest thing that I've done that I've added that has opened up more shot opportunities for me than anything else when it came to saddle hunting was that ring of steps. And I do not like I'm a big fellow. Like I'm on a good day, I'm 235. I do not, do not like cam straps for my ring of steps. I cannot get them tight enough to keep them against the tree without them sliding or slipping or give me a mini heart attack, even though I know I'm not going to fall out of the tree. It's still enough to go as it moves on you. So I bought one of those. I bought a pack of those endless loop with the ratchet straps. And I know some people like, oh, ratchet straps is gonna make noise. Man, man, man. Don't sit there and keep ratcheting on the thing that's making it noise. Take your time. Take your time, couple clicks, you'll be fine. Dude, it secures it to the tree, secures those steps to the tree so much better. And there is no point on the tree that I absolutely cannot get a shot at this point with those. I can stand on my platform. I can walk around the tree almost 360. Or if I need to come back around to do another, I can come back around the other way. Like that has been the bee's knees for me when it came to saddle hunting.
Love it.
Do you do you use ring of steps when you hunt, or do you just use the platform?
No, I used it's called the Solo Stick from Hunt Arsenal.
Okay.
It's a 12-inch stick, about this big. It's got
Hmm.
a can cleat, but it has a little platform on the bottom, but it has a big platform with an angle at the end of it. So I don't that restless foot syndrome type of thing going on, you know what I mean? And yeah, it comes with all that. So I only use the 12-inch. People are like, why didn't you get the 15? Well, this is how I look at it. I used to I worked on a farm when I was younger. Okay. I
Hmm.
grew up on a farm. And cutting trees was a big thing. And if you notice on a lot of trees, the gap between a branch and a branch is usually 12 to 15 feet. Well, it's not always 15. If you see it through the knot, it's usually 12 inches.
Hmm.
So if I had a 12-inch stick and I can get in between branches pretty darn easy, you know what I mean? Instead of struggling with a 15-inch stick. So that's why I picked that one. But anyways,
Yeah. Yeah, I went to the smaller stick this year because the Tether released their a smaller one stick, and I went that route with it. So just because of that, because it's easier to pack, plus it's easier to get into place from the tree that the longer stick didn't match up with. So no, I totally get it. It totally makes sense. So let's talk a little bit here. Obviously I think you and I are in the same ballpark when it comes to mobile hunting. Like it's to me, to you, it's probably the way to go. But obviously, everyone has their own preference of how they want to do things, and it's up to them to make their decisions. Um, so what was your big moment that led you to leave a hang on to go into saddle hunting? What was the big aha moment? What inspired you to do that?
Well, from a hang on, yeah, it was comfortable for me. It's bigger. It's more I had to carry, you know what I mean? Because I had my backpack, I had my hang on, I got my 4 sticks. It took me, I wanna say, close to 30 minutes for me to pack in and pack out. I don't know if I was just being slow or being clumsy, but it just seemed like it just took me forever, and I'm like, "Man, there's gotta be a better way or a lighter way." And watching, see, that's the thing about me. I like watching and listening to what other people have to say. Not only about hunting, but about um, what kind of equipment they use. You know what I mean? If I stop learning, then I'm not going to get nowhere. You know what I mean? I might have been hunting for 30 years, but I'm still going to listen to other people what they have to say and try to put it in my and try to do it my way. If I'm watching this guy saddle hunt or use a hang on and it's like, "Hey, have you ever tried this?" and watch YouTube on it. Like, "Well, that looks a lot easier," you know? I've been watching the Stag guy and he does awesome one sticking and, that's how it all started basically, watching it on YouTube, like, "Wow, man, I could do that in a lot of situations and I could really put this into my kind of swamp hunting," you know what I mean? Swamps are usually smaller trees and so it works out actually very well. And I got stuck one time. Oh, last year. Yes. No, 2 years ago. I got stuck with my hang on. And I'm in a swamp, deep in this thick swamp. I mean, you had to get back there with hip boots. And I'm in there and I'm putting on my hang on, and all of a sudden a branch broke on me. And my whole hang on just went poof right on the ground, splashed around. I'm like, ah, yeah,
Mm,
okay. I had enough of that. That's a
now
setup.
enough of that.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith of the Chasing Your Experience podcast. We interrupt this episode to let you in on some exciting news. If you're looking to upgrade your mock scrape game this year, then head over to scrapedoctor.com and fill your carts full of scrape magic, maybe a poison ivy or two, just a rope squared, or even just a rope. And then enter the code Country Fried 10. That's Country Fried spelled with a K, the number 10, and save yourself a little bit of money. And now, back to the pod. So let's dive into. I think you already mentioned a lot of this stuff, but let's dive into the exact setup that you're using for your mobile setup. What stick you run and what all that. You just kind of break it down. What are you using, if you don't mind sharing?
Okay. I am using the Maverick saddle. I know they come out the 2-panel saddle and everybody's talking about it. Even you are. And
We'll go with it.
I'm gonna make that switch. I am this year. It's more comfortable. I use the Maverick. I use the operator. One of my little one of my little side pouches.
Hmm.
It would be the operator. That holds my bridge spreader. It holds everything up, so I don't get
Hmm.
that hip pinch.
Hmm.
It holds just little things like my hooks for my strap that goes around the tree. It holds everything. But then my other pouch, I have my rope in it, my 9 millimeter, and then I hold my Maverick in that one and my pull down rope in that one also as a little zipper in front. Now, with my pack, it's a Latitude 22. Um, it has a front area where I can put just my one solo. It's called the solo stick. It has a platform on it. It holds that on there, and then if I have to carry my coat or something, it has enough room in that front where I could strap that in there. But it also has enough room inside of it and all the pockets where I can put my control, my camera arm, and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what I bring is my pack and my solo stick and my bow. Yeah.
All right, I want to ask, what bow you shooting?
That's a Matthews RS. I'm a short guy. I'm pretty much 5'9", I guess. I'm gonna give myself 5'9" because it makes me sound taller. I'm 5'9", 210.
I know, good days. That's all right. So what is that? Is that the Lift RS? Is that what that is?
Lift RS, yes, sir.
Yep. How do you like that bow? I've seen a lot of good things for it, especially for a short draw.
Um, it's small. It's a small bow.
Mhm.
I think it's only 27 or I'm not don't quote me on any of that, but it's a small bow and I like this because if I had this big old long bow, I mean, it's going to be harder for me to get into like maybe a pine tree or something. I always think smaller is better in my situations and some of my situations. Everybody's situation is different, but I like this because it was small. It's not something that's 4 foot long. You know what I mean?
Then don't look at my boat. So, no, I got the Matthew V3X. I got the 33-inch version of it, and then
Oh,
this year I got the Elite Vault 35-inch because I like a little bit longer axle. I'm back to the 33 hunting right now. I took the 35 out. I killed, the first deer I shot this year is with that. Um, and then the Matthews, I just got a special sweet spot in my heart for Matthews and for that bow. And I swore I would never buy a Matthews when I was younger. I was never going to buy a Matthews. Not going to do that. Not going to do it. And then I eventually tried the V3X is the first one that I've shot other ones in the past, but the V3X is the one that really sung to me. I'm like, all right, go ahead and order me one. So, and I shot that for several years, man. And I love that bow, and I can't part with it. But I do like the Elite too. Um, so let's talk arrows. Let's talk broadheads. I know this is probably gonna be a good one that's gonna garnish a lot of attention on the social medias. Let's talk arrows
oh
and broad.
boy. Big.
What are
This
you
is a big
using?
one. I'm nervous. Okay, people are gonna look at me like, man, you're ridiculous. Okay, I use a. I'll give you an example here. I use a 25-inch arrow. It's like a bolt because I am so short. My draw ain't very long. I have T-Rex arms. I okay, just like you. Um, we've always shot with light arrows. You know what I mean? Probably from way back when it was the Easton Aluminums. Okay, and we had I think they were called, well, I did when I was younger, preteens, it was the Trocars. That's what and, those things, I mean, they always put in work. Well, they're always a fat arrow, a fat aluminum arrow.
Mhm.
So, now technology has gone like crazy, but they're always light. I've never gone away from the light arrow. I know there's a lot of people out there, "Oh, use a heavy arrow for deer hunting because then you can smash through the bone and you'll travel so far and blah, blah, blah." Well,
Mhm.
that's just my opinion. That's fine. I look at you need a sharp arrow. That's what you need is you need something that's very sharp.
Fair
Now,
point.
my arrow, I'm a toss up between 400 grains and 430. I've been shooting very well with it. It's what your bow likes. It's just like when you're shooting a pew pew. What does your pew pew like? Does it like the big heavy 180 grain or does it like the 150 grain? Well, I've been noticing since I'm so short and have T-Rex arms, I'm on the 400 to 430 and I have never had a problem going through deer. Not ever. Never ever. The only time I've had problems is when I'm using a bigger, let's say a mega meat,
Okay.
bigger 2-inch cut. You know what I mean? Other than that, No, I blow right through them. I don't have any problems from I like to put my at like 45 to in. That's where I feel confident and I feel good at my shot placement. Taking your time at the range it's always worked out for me. So, sharp blades. You need sharp blades. I use an Easton 5.0.
Yep. All right. How so let me ask you this. How's the durability of those been for you? I'm curious to know your observation of it.
Um, like you said, I have a shorter arrow, so it's very stiff. It's because it is shorter. You know what I mean? It's a stiff arrow. It's a bolt, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been very accurate. I can dice them up at 30 and right on top of each other. Pretty darn good.
All right.
They
That's a
fly
good problem to
true.
have.
What's that?
That's a good problem to have.
Yes. Yes, they fly very true. I've never really had a USA made arrow fly horribly. I like to keep it that way too. You know what I mean? I
There's
will.
no
I'll support it. So,
there's not very many US made arrows. I think Easton's about the only one.
yeah,
Um, Even the ones who say like USA assembled, most of that carbon's coming from overseas. Actually, all of it is, and it's usually one or two different companies. Mitsubishi actually has a lot of the largest part of the market. Last time I heard, when it comes to carbon fiber, and they actually do really well with it. Like so, that's where a lot of the carbon comes from. Um,
I did
so
not know.
so here, let me ask you this. So, have you've not had any like durability issues, like the arrows breaking, like nothing like that? Okay. Um, that was my main concern because usually when you try to get an arrow of so when you get an arrow that is that light or lighter or a light GPI for like its spine, there's usually some things that you have to do to that arrow to get it there, and it's usually the type of carbon that's used, and sometimes it can be a little bit more brittle. And my concern was like, yeah, that's great that you have these lighter arrows that are out here for people that want the lighter GPI, but what is the usually what's going to happen? You're going to have a skinnier sidewall, all this, like all the internals, the external OD of it's going to be smaller because there's not as much of a sidewall, and that's going to lead the arrow being brittle. I'm using a certain brand. Let's just say it came out at the same time as the 5.0 and it's the same premise 5.0. I've got a whole graveyard of them in my backyard right now in my backstop because of the amount of them that I've broken. I'm kind of embarrassed to say how many I've broken. On animals, they've done great in my practice. In my, and I shoot out to 130 yards. Like really long distance stuff. And I, uh, I've broken a few. Let's just put it that way. And sometimes it's my fault. It happens. I might have missed the target or something has happened. Right. It's not a all the time thing. My problem with them is that I've broken the predecessor to them. I was replacing inserts more than I was anything else. And so I would just, heat them up, take the insert out, put a new insert in, error was fine. With this version though, I'm finding that I'm breaking more arrows than I have to replace inserts. And I don't know how I feel about that. But like I said, for animals, they work perfectly. The doe I shot with one, I threw her in the ground, not a problem. Picked the arrow up, not a thing wrong with it. Insert was great, broadhead was great, was ready to go for the next one. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining for no reason. But I'm
I
with
never
you.
had a problem.
I shoot a 430 grain arrow. This is where I'm at right now with that setup. It's a Victory HLR is what they are. Um, and I like accuracy wise, they've been great. Flight, they've been great. I've not had any problems with that. It's just it's I call into question the durability, but so far my experience in a hunting situation, they've held up well. It's just been in my probably extreme practice sessions that I've had issues. So guess I
But
can't complain.
that's the thing too, though, brother. Like I have victories too. I used to shoot I shot victory last year. The TKOs, and they I did have problems with. I mean, I expect to have carbon problems or any kind of problems with an arrow if you're continuously shoot them. I
Mhm.
mean, you can shoot them 50 times and not have a problem, but then you have that one that you shot 3 times and then all of a sudden your insert comes out of your arrow. You know what I mean? Or so when you're pulling it out of the bag, or they just flare at the end, for no particular reason. So I expect my arrows to get damaged. I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, shoot, man, now I can't reuse that arrow." I mean, honestly, you're paying big right here. This is probably, I got this is probably, I want to say close to $30, $40 for an arrow. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And if you make them or not. And so yes, it is a big thing if they do break, but I expect mine to break. I really do. On any of my arrows, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, I just get I it's just frustrating because you see it's up, there goes $30. Oh, there goes
That's it.
$30. Oh, they went $30. But it's alright. I get it, and like I said, I can't complain too much because in hunting situations, which is what the arrows really are for, they've done well. They've done more than well, right? So, I'm not gonna let you skirt the question, what broadhead are you using?
For arrow?
Yeah, what broadhead are you using? You said you used Mega Meats
Um,
at one time, what are you back to now?
this year I am using dead meats.
Dead
Um,
Meats? The smaller
yep,
version?
I shot that big guy behind me at I do believe he was close to probably 36 to 37 yards. And
Mhm.
this thing zipped right through him like it was butter. And a perfect double lung shot.
Nice.
Um, there was a deer that I took down a bunch of videos on with the DNR, perhaps, because I was getting a lot of hate, and I was just like, yeah, I could just get rid of this drama stuff.
Mhm.
And that one, I shot him probably close to 25 yards, straight pass through. I couldn't find my arrows, but so, I mean, I never had the problems with the 1.5 broadheads. Any kind of 1.5 broadheads, I never really had a problem. Severed. It just depends on your 3 blade or 2 blade. I like the 3 blade of any kind of thing that's 1.5. Last year I had Mega Meats and I shot a doe with it and it didn't go right through. And I mean, she was at 30, I wanna say about 30 yards, and, it didn't go through. I'm not blaming the broadhead because the broadsheads are sweet, but, it just but it made a mess.
You just didn't get the performance from it that you were looking for,
Yes.
that you look for, and I get that. I've heard that about several different broadheads about that, and I get that. Like, we've all been whether, I've got plenty of examples of broadheads I've used or broadheads I will not use anymore because I've had personal bad experiences with them, but I've got people in my hunting, circle of friends who still use them and still have a lot of success with them. I'm like, "Well, I really can't complain." I mean, yeah, I won't use them, but I'm not gonna tell you not to use them. So, I get that, but one thing I think that a lot of people like to argue when it comes to broadheads and why they choose this one over that one is the blood trails that they get with a certain broadhead, right? I've got my version or my opinion on this. What is your opinion when it comes to broadhead selection and blood trails? Is there a correlation between the two of them, or what do you think?
Yes. Now I mean, you all everybody knows that penetration's a big thing. Um,
Mhm,
you wanna be able to hit the vitals, no matter if your
mhm,
arrow goes through or not. Now, I do love my Mega Meats, and I am switching back to Mega Meats, yes, just because of that. Um, the 4 deer that I shot last year, it just made a blood trail, and it never let me down on any of the deer.
mhm,
And, the 1.5, you're not gonna get as much of a hole. I'm not saying they're not gonna be a hole, but it doesn't open up like to 2-inch cut on the mega meats. And like I said, I don't hunt the rain or nothing or anything like that for a reason. Is because I don't want to lose it up in an animal. But I would not be shy of shooting out to 40 yards with a mega meat because of the blood it leaves. So yes, my biggest thing is the blood trail. 100% it needs to be the blood trail. It needs to be a proper shot too. Can't be making some silly shot in the side of the leg or something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, like, I think where some people get confused over there's this, or they start to blame broadheads or something for something that happened. Because they remember in their mind, they remember I was right behind the shoulder, and then you kind of find out you pretty much pinwheeled the front leg, you know? Yeah, you're gonna have a problem with that. I get that, and I understand that. So in my experience, and I'm gonna go and share this. When it came to blood trails, like, I'll be honest with you, I've used both fixed blades. I've used three blade fixed blades. I've used two blade fixed blades. I've used two blade mechanicals from 1.5 all the way up to 2.5 inch cuts, and I've used three blade mechanicals as two. Here's what I found so far in my experience. It doesn't. I have shot deer with a small fixed blade that bled uncontrollably, right? There was just an incredible blood trail, right? And I've also shot them with a fixed blade where there was barely a blood trail. And I've also shot deer with a large mechanical, right? And double lung, whatever you want to call it, right? And if it wasn't for snow on the ground, I would not have been able to follow the blood trail because it just didn't bleed. Like there was spray out of its nose, and I knew where he died at it, watched him die. That was the other thing that helped me find that deer. But there was no blood trail to follow if there wasn't all snow on the ground, because all it was falling was a fine mist of speckles of blood that he was blowing out as he was running. Um, had another one this year. I smoked this though, and I knew it. She was 15 yards. I'm up in the tree, smoked her, right? So from top to bottom, right? High entry, low exit. I get down, find my arrow, and I look at it, and it looks like it's got like gut material on. I'm like, there is no way. There's no way that this was a pure stomach shot, right? There's no way. And but all signs on that arrow pointed to that that's what it was, right? It is I hit her in the stomach. I'm like, there's no way. I was literally not on her shoulder, but I was pretty close to where, uh, there's no way. But I followed a little bit of the trail, barely any blood. And I'm using a four blade mechanical. Technically it's a two blade with bleeders. And I backed out. Like I'm gonna give her time. We go back in, and sure enough, she's not even 70 yards from where I shot her, deader than dead. Double long hit, actually did pass through the stomach, but just didn't bleed. Just did not bleed. And that was even a high-low shot. And I understand the stomach and stuff can plug the hole and things like that, right? But I wanted to touch on that real quick too, because one of the things about being an archer is that you check your arrows to kind of understand where your shots was, right? And if I'd have gone solely off of that, I would have swore that was a stomach hit. But here was a double long, both lungs, top of the onside lung, bottom of the offside lung, and then it went then caught the stomach. I'd have thought that was a straight gut hit. Would have You couldn't have told me differently because I had no indications it was anything else. So I said all that to say blood trails are very unpredictable when it comes to that, and I get making the selection. There's a lot of people like those mega meats, and for good reason, right? They cause a lot of damage when they enter. I think people need to have like you've already said it. You just need to have realistic expectations of the performance of that broadhead when it comes to penetration,
well,
and good.
if you don't mind me saying something, that it's just like that. I've watched. Okay, I've seen kids that are 13, 14 years old shoot these arrows that are fixed blade, and they buzz right through them, and you know darn well that arrow ain't that heavy. You know what I mean? So I mean, fixed blades are just flowing right through these deer, but barely see a blood trail. Now me, I draw back 75 pounds. I have a 75-pound drawback. So when my stuff hits, I know it's gonna either gonna go right through or it's just gonna make a really big impact on this deer. And and I've used fixed blades. That's the thing. You got to find which one works for you. I
Hmm.
mean, anybody can say, "Oh, use this, use this, use this, use this," just like you were talking about when we talked about before. You can use a certain brand that you did not like because it opened up before it even hit the deer, and but then other people having all kinds of success. I and I mean, you could try all these different ones, and like I'm going back to Mega Meats again, it's because I like them. That's my preference for
Hmm.
me. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? My arrowway is my preference. It's because it works for me. Somebody can say, "Well, shoot, I shoot a 508 grain arrow," and I'm like, "So that's okay, man. Well, you do you, man. But I'm not shooting through an elk. I'll pick on them like that, though. You know what I mean?" So I mean, everybody has a preference on it all, to be honest with you, but that's what works, and what you're talking about, yeah, 100%, I agree with you so much on that because it your placement it tells you everything, and you're gonna smell your arrow, you're gonna look at the trail, you think it's a gut shot, but it's not. It's your broadhead didn't perform the way you want it to, basically, and you would think it would make a more of a mess. I've had deer like that too. I was going off the slobber off the mouth. I'm following blood trail, and then all of a sudden, all dry leaves, but then you see the slobber. You know what I mean? And you're like, "That's got to be him." Yeah. And then you follow it,
Hmm.
and then there's blood. So I've had that with the Montec and Montec, and and then it just I never went back to them. I mean, they shoot true, but I don't like the trail on them. So, sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt.
no, that's right. No, that's the spot on time to mention too. Of the fixed blade heads, the Montec, I have never had one not fly right. As long as I have my arrow tuned correctly, my bow tuned correctly, there wasn't any outlying issues. Those things can fly like darts, and I use them for a very that's my first when I first switched to fixed blades, that's what I used, and I actually had some pretty good success with them, and I've been down quite a journey, and that's not why we're here today, but like anybody, we've all been through a journey. We've had what worked, we had stuff that was questionable, but I think you and I are both kind of tinkerers. We're not really satisfied with something. We are always trying to find the next best thing, or to be a little bit more efficient. We're not afraid to try stuff, and that I think it's a very common thing between you and I and a lot of the other people like us. So before we start closing the show out, um, I want to talk about your social media presence a little bit and how you got started in that and how this has grown for you and what your goals through that medium or is, if that makes sense.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Me being on social media, it's a good thing, but it also can be a nightmare too. I didn't. It's not. I'm an average hunter. I am no special person at all. I'm a public land, Michigan, born and raised hunter. I like to find stuff that helps me because I've learned off of other people too. Like I said, I'm an open book. I'm willing to learn. Like I said, I've been hunting for a very long time, but I'm still gonna learn something new. Deer are all deer are different. All deer movements are different. All deer, everything is different. You can hunt one area and deer can be totally different in another area. They can act totally different. So I mean, learning off other people's experiences is what I'm about. Well, being either a mobile hunter because mobile is starting to become a very big thing nowadays. And watching how other people do things, so I'm more efficient. So I'm gonna spread the news. If I see something that I like or what I like, I have a passion for the outdoors. And no offense to anybody on here, but I have passion about God. And it goes hand in hand with me. So being in this open air and breathing in everything that I see and other people liking what they see too, it helps me because then I can show more. I'm not per se trying to get myself big. I'm just trying to help the average hunter. You know what I mean? Because that's all I am. I'm never gonna change who I am because I'm a Michigander. You know what I mean? I like to hunt, and people like what I have, so it helps them out too, and it helps me out watching other people. So
There are some big names from the Michiganders, though. Like you guys got John Eberhart. I like listening to him talk. Honestly, I gotta tell you, I'll tell you a little secret. And so I was listening to John Eberhart talk about some of the other celebrity hunters out there, and Mark Drury them, right? And he was on a podcast talking about them. And honestly, it was that conversation that kind of sparked me to want to do what I'm doing now. And because John's opinionated. I don't know John personally, but if you listen to a lot of stuff he talks, he's very opinionated and he's not afraid to tell you his thoughts. Almost to a fault where I think it's where I feel like he's like a lot of other people are just trying to force his experience onto other people, right? Like this is what you need to do. And now John's successful. I know he is. Like, he's done a lot and he's accomplished a lot. But just kinda listen to that conversation about I'm like, "You know what? I think there needs to be a voice somewhere," and I think you're starting to see more of it, a voice that's more of a reasonable voice of like, "Hey, as long as you're out there doing you and you are legal and you're not doing anything, nefarious or unethical, go chase your own experience, man. Go chase what you wanna do and don't let people drag you down because you're trying to chase that. You wanna shoot 2.5-year-old bucks? You do it, man. You wanna go out and harvest does, you do it. If you're happy with that button buck, you do it. You wanna shoot a crossbow, you do it. You only wanna gun hunt, you go do it. But do not at no time is it acceptable for you to get onto any type of social media or any type of account or any type of forum or even walk up to somebody who's out enjoying the outdoors legally and ethically to sit and bring them down because they don't do it the way you do it. It's time that that shit stops or serious. Like I'm done.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
that's the point behind this is really kind of the point behind the podcast. Yes, I can be opinionated and yes, I will give you my experiences that I see, but I'm not going to sit and dog you because honestly, you could and I'm not saying it's like you could this year, you could have shot a 2.5-year-old buck, been really proud of it, and I'd still have you on the podcast. I'm not about bringing I know what you gotta show. I'm not
Little
about bring
2.5-year-old, buddy. Two and a
Yeah,
half year old. I was happy.
there's nothing wrong with that, but you see some of these other ones where and yeah, they gain traction, but they don't care if it's not a 180-inch deer, they don't care, like, we don't yeah, don't worry about it.
You're so right though, man, because everybody is opinionated. I love just to hunt. I mean, I'm looking for bigger, older deer to fill my freezer, but if only a 6 point comes across and I was like, wow, this is an opportunity. You know what I mean? And I like them. I'm gonna take them. You know what I mean? If like that's only a 2.5-year-old deer, that 9 point. And, he was probably one of the bigger ones I've seen on camera, that's why I do my homework, and I
Mhm.
like just because he was dark and he had character, and he was actually a really good deer to take out of there because the way the land was and how other people hunted it. So, yeah, you're right. Why are people judging people? Stop judging. We're all in this stuff together, and this is all for us, for to relieve yourself, to freaking get away, to be able to enjoy yourself. And I look at it the exact same way. There's a purpose why we're out there, man. You know, you just got to be able to relax and do it. You know,
And you should be able to chase it the way you want as long as it's legal. I'm not
exactly.
saying I'm not saying I'm not saying throw a thermal scope. I'm not saying I'm for you to throw a thermal scope on your crossbow and go out in the middle of the night and go shoot a booner. That's illegal. That's anybody anybody who's in it for the right reasons is gonna tell you, you probably shouldn't do that. But it's it it's gotten I'm starting to see another side of it though. because I've seen on some of my posts where like, all right, so I go out and I get this 1.5-year-old buck on camera. I'm just watching him with my phone and stuff. And he's a deer I'm gonna let go. Not saying that somebody else shouldn't shoot him. I'm just saying like this is, I know what I'm looking for, and he's just not quite there yet. And but I'm seeing the comments now like, oh, we'd had back straps tonight. you know, I'm starting to see the other side of this dynamic, which is great to see. Like, hey, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. You're happy with that deer, take him. Um, it's just I'm in a situation and I'm at a point now where, yeah, I'm gonna shoot does. Like I got no problem shooting does. We get one buck tag in Ohio, and I'm at least trying to my go-to, this is my it's not a certain score, it's not a certain anything. What it is, if I look at the buck and I see him coming and I go, "Yep," I'm probably gonna shoot him. I can't tell you what score that is. That could be a 120 as far as I know. All I'm looking at when I see that deer, I go, "Yep," I shoot him. If I look at him, I'm like, I'm probably not gonna shoot him, but like, "Hey, go do you, buddy. Go enjoy another year of life or something." But that is my judgment is that, yep, and there's no question I'm shooting it. So that's what happened this year with the rifle. Like went out with a straight wall cartridge. That buck came in. I'm like, yep, he got it.
No,
But he
I've had some opportunities like that. Even what was it? A couple days ago, I wasn't even gonna go. I was like, well, I really like this land. Should I bring a bow or a gun or whatever? And I didn't do it just because I was like, well, my cousin's gonna go out hunt with me tomorrow.
Mhm.
So me taking more than what I really should be taking it shouldn't be like that, and I know my cousin's gonna get one. We didn't end up harvesting anything, but um it was still just to be able to come up 50 yards from another deer, because I had 4 opportunities. If I would have brought a pew pew with me, I would have been able to I had 4 deer laying in front of me, but sometimes it's not all about that though, you know what I mean? People should be more proud of people, because back in I'm gonna say back in the day, but
Way
people,
back in the day.
if you harvest a spike, people were happy. You know what I mean? Like, man, you just got a deer, man. That is so cool. You know what I mean? And it's not turning into that. There's a lot more trophies around.
And it's hard to point a finger at exactly where the culture started to go wrong, if it's even one thing or not. I'm sure if this makes it in one of the short little reels that I do, there'll be a lot of people who have some comments about what they believe it to be, and that's fine. Like I want to hear it. Like it's we all have our different perspectives of things, but it's hard for me to point towards just one thing that's going to actually that was the shift in the culture. But it is something that we do see, it is something that people deal with, and, I think it can play in the fact of why a lot of people aren't staying with this, especially someone that's new because they go out, they enjoy, they harvest an animal that they're happy with, and then the first 2 few comments are, "Well, you should have let him grow another year. Oh, I can't believe you shot that deer. Ugh, what are you doing?" Instead of just being happy for that hunter, like you said, and congratulating them. So, but Alex, we're kind of getting short on time here, and I want to get a few things out. So I'm going to just kind of throw some questions out to you, and I'm going to preface the first one. Like I'm watching your account, and you definitely separate yourself out from what I think other hunters are, because of a lot of the prep work and stuff that you do, and you always seem to have like some levels of success when you go out, and success is very subjective. So some people success is just making it out in the woods and having and enjoying a day. That could be a success for some people, and for others success is seeing deer, and for some maybe success is actually harvesting a deer. I get that. I'm not trying to tell someone what they should look at as success, but watching your account, I see that you separate yourself out from a lot of others, and I'm curious to know what you think. And I understand, be humble if you need to be, but what do you think? What is the one thing that you do, or the one thing that you can't, that you will always do, and that you think leads towards your success? What is the one thing that separates you from like some others?
Always looking at other people's properties.
Okay.
It's a different way of looking at it. Some people can have a food plot on their property. Some people can have old broken down buildings, like I said in one of my videos. Some people can have a big corn. Um, this is public land though. Um, or a farm. I will hunt those on those public lands. I will find those. I'll look on other people's properties that's next to that public land
Hmm.
and car feed off of what they're going to probably be doing. And they usually push all the deer pretty close. You know what I mean? So I mainly look at a lot of other people's structure before I jump into public land.
That makes sense. So a lot of the scouting work and prep work. So you're looking to see what other, basically, you're looking at what the pressure is going to look like and then adapting to that to your advantage.
Exactly.
That's a good way. That's a good way to look at it. I think some people also, I think you could probably say, well, and we're not, don't take this the wrong way when I say this, folks, but basically you're kind of hunting people because you're kind of hunting the pressure that people are putting on the animals. And then so that's part of your plan. So that's actually an interesting way to look at that. It really is.
Exactly what I do, buddy. Yep.
What is the one thing, I'm gonna ask you this, what is the one thing that you absolutely will not go in the woods without?
Without?
Yeah, without.
Ooh. Oh. Um.
That's a rough one, ain't it?
Yeah, that's pretty tough, dude. My release.
That's probably a good thing to have. I've done this more than once. I've left the house and left my arrows at home because the quiver the quiver wasn't attached to the bow. And I'm like, I get out to the spot I'm hunting. I'm like, where's my arrows? Oh shit. So, uh, so I can hear-
What I won't go out to the woods without is I always have I it might sound weird. I always carry an extra pair of socks in my bag.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't know why, but sometimes you just get into that situation where you need either extra pair of socks or extra pair of underwear. Which one? Which one do you bring? You know what I mean? I just don't. Yeah, that's
So
probably one
some
thing I won't
days,
go.
some days that underwear needs cut up and used for stuff. So you better have an extra one with you. Some days nature calls. All right, Alex, we're getting ready to close this out. So we talked a little bit about today. So what is the one what is the one mobile hunting tactic that outside of the prep work we talked about hunting the pressure stuff. So what's the one mobile hunting tactic um that you think has led to your overall maybe enjoyment or success in the woods outside of the prepping?
Um, Tactic uh, is see that's another tough question, man. Uh, there's several different ways you can look at it. The tactic is basically finding the movements of the deer and which way they like to travel during the day and during the night. That's how I can really try to get in on them. You know what I mean? Or where are they settling the most during the day, or where they're settling mostly during the nighttime. So
Makes sense. All right, last one for you, then I'm gonna let you kind of close this out. So here's the question. If someone is on the fence about getting into mobile hunting, right? And what is it that you would tell them to either convince them or tell them to run away from it? What is it? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, well, the thing of it is like, I would tell them, look, don't burn up a spot. If you were mobile, you
Hmm.
would be able to go to different areas and try to zoom in on where these deer are. I mean, that's what I would tell them. And it's the truth. You know what I mean? There's no reason to lie about it. You can really get in on them being mobile instead of hanging a preset, stand. Yep. It's very easy to burn up. It only takes 1 or 2 times just to burn up one spot. It really does for a week or even. And you wanna be able to keep hunting. You don't wanna just sit there 1 week, 1 day a week and hunt. If you do that, you're gonna keep putting your scent in the same area, and they're gonna be like, "Whoa," you know? So, yeah, being mobile, yes. That's what I'll tell them.
Yeah, mobile hunting's opened up a lot more opportunities for me. We talked a little bit about it earlier about we can yeah, I've got some presets that are here and there, and I've had success in them. Like I still do here and there, but the mobile hunting's put me in situations that more shot opportunities than anything else. Because it allows you to move to where the deer, like we said earlier, where the deer are, not where you think they should be. So, well, Alex, I think our time is coming to an end here. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to kind of close us out. Anything you want to say that we've not covered that you wanted to get out?
Remember, hunting is not just about killing. Enjoy yourself, you know, and pick whatever you want to shoot. That's all I got to say. Whatever you want to shoot, be happy with it. You know, being
Absolutely.
mobile is key though.
Be mobile, have fun. Go out there and do what you need to do. Put the work in, man, because that's where success comes from is the work and effort that goes into it. All right, Alex, where can people find you at? Let's drop your socials for us.
You can find me at Mobile Hunting Nation 2.0. It's underscored, mobile underscore hunting underscore nation 2.0. You can find me on Instagram at all one Mobile Hunting Nation. Um, my Facebook, I'm not on it too much. It's just I'm around on Facebook, but not too much. But yeah, mainly Instagram, and it'll be on my TikTok. If you guys look me up, you'll see my Instagram on there. I also have a little bit of a YouTube, but it's not really growing or taking off. So I just stick around there, talk with people, have conversation.
Nope, I get it, man. Well, Alex, I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the podcast today. Uh, there's a couple times we had to reschedule a couple times and stuff, but I'm glad we're finally able to connect and get you on here because I really like your perspective of things and your perspective on mobile hunting and just sharing that because it's definitely a different world. We both mobile hunt, but your version of it, on the public land is a lot different than mine. Because I hunt mostly private land. We probably use some of the same kind of tactics here and there, but just how we approach it's a little bit different. So I'm glad to get your perspective out there, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come and join us on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do.
But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the last hour and a half as we brought Alex Thomas from the great state up north, Michigan, on here from Mobile Hunting Nation 2.0 on the TikTok. So make sure you give him a follow. There's a lot of great videos and stuff he puts on there. He posts like multiple videos almost every day and a few lives here and there that are just fun to join and listen and be a part of. So make sure you check him out, give him support. And if you're interested in that mobile hunting, I'm sure he's more than happy to share more knowledge with you. Just reach out to him, talk to him, and use him or anybody or anyone in that realm as a resource for you, because that's why we're here, is to be a resource to help you and guide you in a direction. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I know your time is very valuable, and I do appreciate it that you chose to spend that last hour and a half with us on here on the podcast. Before you go, we would appreciate if you would give us a like and a review, maybe a quick review, and also share it with your friends on whatever podcast platform you found us on. If you do get a moment, check us out on our Instagram or TikTok. I would tell you Facebook, but we're not really on there. But you can find us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors. TikTok is Country Fried Outdoors. And then also on the YouTubes, which is Country Fried Outdoor Productions, where you can find us at. But until our experiences cross paths again, may every one of you have the courage to know, but yet the humility to learn. And as always, stay safe out there, and God bless you. Thank you for listening to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Country Fried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Country Fried Outdoor Productions.